Have you been well for the week? Today's sermon, I intend to give a sermon today on the thought of interdependent arising. You all, to know the law of interdependent arising completely, you must learn a lot. So now, while learning the law of interdependent arising, you learn gong thought. This gong thought cannot be fully learned even if you learn until the earth ends. It is that vast. So, well, existing temples are now secretly taking our things to make scriptures, trying to write books too, doing all sorts of things. But that is an act of sinning against living beings. One must know everything before writing. Doing it that way becomes an act of sinning against living beings. That's the meaning. The thought of interdependent arising is not something only humans possess. All things in the world are composed of the thought of interdependent arising. But now, looking these days, comments were posted. Monks, what did they post? Saying that a person comes to the world through karmic consciousness, and also vanishes through karmic consciousness when leaving. They were saying many strange things, but that karma means causing karma. Causing karma to bring all things of the world into existence. That's the meaning. That doesn't align with principle, right? Think about it. All things in the world are the law of living being. All things. So, this human living. Look these days, you all, did apartments exist in the old days? In the old days, there were no apartments. What humans continuously create while living is the thought of interdependent arising. I tell you, apartments didn't exist in the old days, right? These days it's apartments completely everywhere. But do you think apartments are good? A detached house is good. Apartments are not good. So, human living, all the principles of the world, are made of the thought of interdependent arising. If you remove the thought of interdependent arising, there is nothing. So what do I say? When Maitreya Buddha's Buddhism first went out into the world, I said, a dead persimmon tree neither blooms flowers nor bears fruit. I said this, right? That's the correct answer, I tell you. Therefore, all things in the world all come and then leave. Because they come and leave. What is leaving? Leaving is disappearing. But it is not the cycle of birth and death samsara. The cycle of birth and death samsara happens when done artificially. If it's not artificial, it doesn't happen. The cycle of birth and death samsara is the basis of the thought of interdependent arising, but birth and death do not happen. Will the cycle of birth and death samsara happen? It doesn't happen. It's all telling lies, that's what it is. It's because they are ignorant and haven't studied that they use such words. The speaker and the people listening to those words are the same kind of people. How does the cycle of birth and death samsara happen? If the cycle of birth and death samsara happens, it becomes gong thought. But because the cycle of birth and death samsara doesn't happen, it's called the thought of interdependent arising. So, interdependent arising happens, and then at the end, disappearing and vanishing is interdependent arising. If interdependent arising continued until the end of the world, that would be fine. 4.41 seconds. That's not how it is. If a farmer plants rice in the summer, then without planting ever again until death, rice should keep growing endlessly, right? Yes or no? That is called samsara of life and death. But rice is a single life without reincarnation. A single life. It's planted in summer, harvested in fall, rests in winter, then starts again in spring. Only if it luckily catches a person's hand and eye and makes it into a person's possession. Then that rice can taste the world and live. Otherwise, all of it just goes to the rice mill, gets ground up, and goes into people's mouths. That rice, what do you call that? Transience. Do you think rice came into this world for no reason, just to fill people's bellies and let them eat until full? That's not it. A human survives by taking away all things to avoid dying. All things don't exist to provide for humans, nor does the world's existence serve people. That's the point. But people call that religion. Using that kind of talk as religion, calling it religious and putting it to use. From a human's perspective, it sounds plausible. It's language that uses people. But when the other side hears it, they feel very offended, right? Don't you agree? Imagine saying to rice, I planted you, raised you well in farming. And when fall comes, I'll cut you, send you to the mill, pound you, and cook you into a meal. That's why I planted you. Then what do you think the rice would say? Hey, thief, con man, wicked guy, right? Don't you think? Humans are that rotten of a species, right? Yes or no? Humans plant rice to survive, so they boil it and eat it. But wouldn't rice feel really bad about that? What is religion? Religion is useless. Surrey Mountain Yonghua Temple is not a religion. Are you thinking of it as a religion? Surrey Mountain Yonghua Temple is not a religion. It's not designated as a religion here. Surrey Mountain Yonghua Temple is not a religion. It's not even a temple. Yonghua Temple is a place to enlighten people. Do you think this is a temple? This isn't a temple. Why would this be a temple? Temples are for offering prayers, making offerings, going to ask for personal blessings. That's what temples and religions do. This place is not for begging, right? Don't you agree? Why do you come here to pray? You could pray at home, right? Why do you go through the trouble of coming all the way here to pray? This is not a place for praying. If you want to pray, there are plenty of temples at the foot of the mountain. Go pray there. There's no need to pray here. This is not a place for praying. So all things in the world are like this because humans are so mentally blocked and foolish. Because they only think for themselves and speak for themselves. That's why they say such things. If you speak fairly, you can't say such things. Understood? Still, among them, Shakyamuni had a conscience. That's what I'm saying. Got it? Shouldn't monks resemble the Buddha? Then who should they resemble? If you're a Buddhist, you should resemble the Buddha. Then who did you intend to resemble? Right? Or not? You should resemble the Buddha, but you don't. Why is that? You're not resembling the Buddha. Shakyamuni is the founder of Buddhism, right? The founder. If he is the originator, the founder, then shouldn't you resemble Shakyamuni? Then why don't monks resemble Shakyamuni? That's what I'm saying. Did Shakyamuni curse like this and swear at bhikkhunis and monks, saying this woman, that woman? If Shakyamuni did, then he'd be riffraff. Even now, sitting right here, right? Or not? If Shakyamuni cursed his disciples and monks, would he be human? He'd be worse than a dog or pig. That's Shakyamuni. Shakyamuni does not curse. If you have such a great teacher, and the disciple learns the enlightenment under that teacher, he should become like Shakyamuni. But instead, he's completely just a living being. A living being. Cursing and calling bhikkhunis and monks this woman, that woman, committing bad acts. Such a person is not a disciple of Shakyamuni. Right? Or not? That's riffraff. Right? Or not? Yonghua Temple is not a temple, I said. Yonghua Temple is a sanctuary that guides people on the right path. It's not a place that tricks people with lies or sneaky talk. That's why this is not a temple. This is a place that guides you on the right path. A sanctuary that guides the right path. I speak fairly, putting everything on a fair scale. Fairly, am I right or wrong? You plant rice and say, hey you. You think I planted you for no reason? I planted you in the hot sun so I could harvest a lot and make some money. That's the meaning. When humans think, then what would the rice think? Hey you thief, you raised me only to eat me? Isn't that what it would say? Am I wrong? Among all the creatures in the world, there is no animal as wicked as humans. On this earth, humans are number one among bad animals. Does that sound like a lie? Listen carefully. You need to listen to what I say, judge it, and agree when something is right. That's how a person fulfills their role as a human being. If you oppose even when something is right, that's not fulfilling the role of a human. That's worse than being an animal. Isn't that right? It's true, isn't it? Humans are living and moving animals. But humans aren't the only animals among them. There are elephants, tigers, lions, bears, wolves, dogs, cats. All these animals are killing animals. They kill to survive. But killing animals don't eat their own kind. Have you seen them eat their own kind? No, these animals I'm talking about are all killing animals. But have you seen them kill and eat their own kind or beat them to death? But humans aren't like that. Humans kill other humans, isn't that right? There is no animal as wicked as humans in this world. The thought of interdependent arising has no free rides. There's no such thing as free in the thought of interdependent arising. But humans love free things, don't they? The thought of interdependent arising has no free rides. There's also no interdependent arising that happens just like that. If you've incurred debt, you must repay it. That's the thought of interdependent arising, understood? Taking profit only for yourself and benefiting only yourself, that's not interdependent arising at all. That's why there's no free ride in the thought of interdependent arising. You can't do it alone, you always need a partner, and dead things can't do it either. The dead can't arise interdependently. Do you understand? How can something dead arise interdependently? Think about it. Can a dead person and a living person interdependently arise? They're all swindler bastards. I tell you, when I speak, you should understand. If you go to the sky, there is Indra, there are heavenly spirits. Only when the heavenly gate in the sky opens can I achieve my wish. Swindler bastards. What heavenly gate is there to open like a main gate? Swindler bastards. Ah, it's true. I tell you, what is there in the sky to open? They're swindler bastards. I tell you, what exists? There's nothing. Packaging things that don't even exist as if they do. That's all because they are possessed by ghosts, listening to the sounds of ghosts playing tricks. That's what they say. So I told our monk, your supervisor tells fortunes well and speaks knowledgeably like that. People go crazy because of that knowledgeable talk and attend everything. Female Buddhist, what this and that. You went somewhere the day before yesterday, right? Yesterday, you went to the house of mourning. Because I say this, I'm an expert. It seems otherwise because I don't speak and I keep it all covered up. If I spoke, you all would be amazed. Do you think I don't know anything? In the old days, there was a very famous person named Cha Chun Ja in Gimj, Jela province, a swindler. Because of that knowledgeable talk, people went crazy there, people whose minds snapped. This monk of ours is also like that. His mind snapped, because of people who talk knowledgeably. So, even if I speak, he doesn't listen to my words, because he's crazy about that. His mind is completely focused there. So, what meaning does that knowledgeable talk have? Knowledgeable talk. Think about it, right? Knowledgeable talk means the sound of ghosts muttering. Why talk about that to others? There's an old proverb, right? If you mutter and grumble, they say you're making the sound of a ghost eating rice seeds. Why would they make the sound of a ghost eating rice seeds? Muttering and grumbling, it's all nonsense. That's what I'm saying. Nonsense. But why make sounds that ghosts make? That's the point. Because people live life blocked like that. When they die, they just completely disappear like dust. Since the earth was formed, not a single human has come to the world, lived, and returned alive. Until now, they all just disappeared. So, when a person dies, it's the end. Do you know how good a person is in the world who teaches how, after a human lives and dies, they can come back again? Think about it. I told you everything exactly 100% in accordance with reason. No one can argue with what I say. But someone once said this. A monk said it. They said every person carries Buddha's enlightened light in their chest. That it's right here, inside the chest. Buddha's enlightened light. It's because of such foolish monks that Buddhism is set to collapse. That's what I'm saying. Pseudo-religions. Pseudo-monks. That's what they are. You got it? What's supposed to be inside the chest? People like that are just full of crap. Oh please, what could possibly be in there? Why live lying like that? That's why the thought of interdependent arising doesn't apply to the dead. So when a person dies, it's over. They can't interdependently arise. It's over. If you call out to the dead, do they answer? It's over. You're just acting up because you're alive and have strength and can still do something. Try lying down and facing death right before your eyes. Would you still say things like that? Would you sit there cursing the head monk of Yonghua Temple or a nun, calling them names, if death were staring you in the face? What did the messenger of death say? You scoundrel, while alive, how many bad deeds did you commit against people? Living beings don't know what the messenger of death says. They don't know what he's saying. You don't know how you're taken, or who's taking you. That's why it's called the messenger of death. It wasn't originally called that. It's actually a ghost that takes you. A ghost. Ghosts mingle with other ghosts, right? Yes or no? The living mingle with the living. Should the living mingle with dead ghosts? Right? That's why the thought of interdependent arising doesn't work with the dead. So then, what does it mean that the dead can't arise interdependently? This is it. It's like a dead persimmon tree. What's the point in staring at it all the time? It's rotting and won't bear any fruit. Even birds won't sit on a dead tree. It's bad luck, right? Yes or no? Birds don't land on it because it's bad luck. Then why do you keep begging to the dead all the time, right? So Gong thought, once I deeply understand the thought of interdependent arising, I transition into Gong thought like this. Like this, you see? If I speak on Gong thought, none of you could even take a single step. That's how enormous it is. You just don't know because I don't speak about it. When a person holding such tremendous enlightenment hears some living being spouting off as if they know something, what do you think I would feel? If it's about academic study, I've studied more than monks. I'm someone who knows scholarship better, so what are you talking about like you know something? Coming to me? Think about it. That book written by a Chinese person, they're just quoting from it. But I'm a doctor in those classical texts. I just don't say it. I've mastered them. But they talk like that without knowing that. They sit in a room reading a few lines of a book and talk like they know something. The ignorant. How thoroughly enlightened must the mind be to say something like this? Ask me anything. Anything. Try asking me a question. Earlier in the room, I told our Lady Dharma friends this. When you cut a tree, there are growth rings, right? When you look at the growth rings, they don't go evenly. One side is narrow, the other is wide, right? Or not? They didn't know. Do any of you know? Try saying it once. Our head of the faithful at least received direct instruction from the Buddha for 10 years. What he just said is the correct answer. Understood? When you cut a tree, it has growth rings. Those growth rings show the age of the tree as it grows and ages. Those are the growth rings. But why don't the growth rings go evenly? One side is narrow, the other wide, right? This is because the side that received a lot of Buddha's enlightened light from the sun has wider rings. What is in that side? Even in a tree, there is good Buddha's enlightened light within that side. So when you cut a tree and split it into firewood, which side should you strike to split it easily? Why is that? Even if it's the same tree, listen carefully. Where the growth rings are wider, it received a lot of Buddha's enlightened light, so there is no karma there. Understand? Because there is no karma, if you strike the wider growth ring with an axe, the tree splits in one blow, but on the narrow side, it doesn't split easily. Understand? Why is that here? Here. Because it's shaded and doesn't receive much sunlight. The tree is filled with karma, so it doesn't grow well. It's the same for people. It's hard to have a conversation with someone who has a bad personality, isn't it? Isn't that right? You should never deal with such people. Women, when getting married, should never meet men who don't talk much and just sit quietly staring. You'll suffer terribly until you die. Never meet such a person. That's how all things in the world are. You need to learn these things. You need to know this. I didn't teach you. But you already know, don't you? That means you've studied the world to that extent. Your perspective is different. Your way of seeing is different. Even if you go for a walk in the mountains and look at trees, you can see what's wrong with one and what's wrong with another. It's all revealed there. Buddha's enlightened light isn't an all-powerful light. Look at fruit trees. Branches that stretch toward the south bear more fruit, while branches that stretch toward the north bear less fruit. Isn't that right? Branches always stretch toward the warm south where they receive more of Buddha's enlightened light, and that's where more fruit grows. Isn't that right? Gong thought doesn't work if there's even a 0.01 millimeters difference. Think about it. That's why you must listen carefully to the words of the enlightened Maitreya Buddha. Understood? Who in this world is truly enlightened? There may be realization, but there are no enlightened people on this earth. Do you understand? If you think you know so well, go buy a lottery ticket and try to win. Don't pretend to know. If you know so well, then go win the lottery. It's all lies. Do you understand? Lies. A person does all sorts of acts to eat and survive. There are not many people who think of enlightening living beings with conscience. And there's no need to curse others, right? If you know the right path, you just need to go that way yourself. Why curse others? Isn't that so? They curse to protect their own territory. What is territory? Territory is, originally, animals that kill living beings protect territory. Understand? Wolves or tigers or humans, such animals that kill living beings live in groups like that to protect their territory where they live. Animals with a right conscience and good virtue do not need territory. Is that so? Isn't it? Don't you all understand? You all, there are flying birds, right? Birds too, birds whose nature is honest, cause no harm, and are honest. Those birds do not travel in flocks. Understand? At most, only a loving wife, female, and male, just two travel together. They don't travel in groups like that. Is that so? Isn't it? All things in the world are like that, I tell you. Do you understand? You all are sitting here having come here to escape such principles of such a world. If you like such things, there would be no reason to sit here, right? Right? The thought of interdependent arising means you should choose only good things that don't harm others, and perform actions arise interdependently accordingly. Thinking, that guy stole my thing, so I'll steal too, and then performing actions arising interdependently shouldn't be done. Is that so? Isn't it? Therefore, the dead cannot arise interdependently. But there are Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, Guanyin Bodhisattva, many, right? Believing in such figures means believing in dead people, right? It's not believing in living people. That's the point. Dead people. Then, you all have children, right? Then there's no need to send them to school. Just believing in King Sejong is enough, right? Isn't it? If you just believe in King Sejong created Hangul, right? Then just believing in King Sejong is enough. Why send them to school? Aren't they empty-headed people? Right? Isn't it? Just hang a picture of King Sejong exactly at home. Say King Sejong, write letters. Look there, write letters, and just call King Sejong every day. Then you'll study well and become enlightened. Try it once. King Sejong. Then doesn't that mean I'm right? Why bother sending kids to school? You could just rely on King Sejong. Isn't calling on the dead Shakyamuni the same as calling on King Sejong? So why not call him? You might as well. Why break your back earning money to send your kids to school when you can just call on King Sejong? Do you know what it means when kids go to school and study? That is the thought of interdependent arising. There has to be a teacher for there to be a student, right? So if there's no student, who does the teacher teach? A ghost? Right? Yes or no? That's the thought of interdependent arising. Why do we elect a president? Because there are living beings, a president is needed. If there are no living beings and only a president exists, who is he going to command? Right? Yes or no? The thought of interdependent arising requires a partner, a counterpart. If there's no counterpart, it's not interdependent arising. It's nonsense, right? There must always be a partner. If a teacher is alone in a classroom with no students, what is he doing? Who is he teaching? Then can the dead interdependently arise? There's no counterpart. People can't understand this hearing. Then what is that head made of? Isn't it made of stone? A stone. If someone speaks and you can't understand, what kind of head is that? A stone head. With whom are you interdependently arising? That Buddha statue you worship is just a piece of wood. How do you interdependently arise with that? It's a piece of wood placed there, right? This is all already explained. But people can't understand the hearing of it. Religion is nothing. There's nothing to learn or to listen to. It's all lies and nonsense. Utter nonsense. Why? We must believe in religion scientifically. Scientifically. Understood? So when a mother gives birth to a child, what does she say? I have my precious son. What does that mean? Having a son itself means a living being. A living being. Even if you cherished your son and saw him on a joyous day, that child will live and then die when the time comes. That's why it's a living being. Why is it called a living being? Because it lives and then dies. If it didn't die, why would it be called a living being? If it doesn't die, it becomes gone thought. But it dies. Your child lives and then dies. Because it dies, it is a living being. Then if we interpret it scientifically, Jesus died and was conceived again in 3 days, what does that mean? It means he is a living being. A living being. He's not God. If he were God, why would he enter a womb and be conceived? God shouldn't need to be conceived, right? Yes or no? So religion believes in things that aren't even in the air, in what can't be seen. Which is why people believe even when such things are said just sitting there stupidly. Scientifically speaking, it means it's nothing. That's how unstudied and lacking in insight people are. People of the world lack insight, every one of them. Right? Or not? So when a human is born, they die. What is life and death? You're born and you die. Born and die, that's what life and death mean. Samsara doesn't exist. Samsara only happens if it's artificially done. It doesn't happen automatically. But they say Buddha is seated in their heart. The Master is seated. Buddha's enlightened light is seated. Maitreya is seated. Crazy people. Why do they even eat and live? They all need to go to a mental hospital. Because of such bad seeds, Buddhism is collapsing. And these days, young people who study and have open minds all go to church and don't even go to temples. Not even one. You have to know yourself. Try spreading the sermon I give out in the world. They'll all come back. The young people, they say God exists, but where is God? There is no God. So they come back again. Where is God? In the sky? Since God's in the sky, then you put up a heavenly gate, attach a door, and open and close it. Is that it? Oh dear, I don't know how such stupid people manage to eat and live. Where is God in the sky? That's why it's called self-proclaimed heavenly son. Do you know what that means? I have awakened. I have attained the truth. That's what self-proclaimed heavenly son means. Got it? There was a con man in Gimj back in the day. He called himself the self-proclaimed heavenly son. If I tell you that story, you'd be speechless, right? I'm just a doctor, you see. And then the daughter-in-law performs rituals, gathering people in the fields. The daughter-in-law, the heavenly son's daughter-in-law. I went there myself. They lined people up in formation and walked between them. She looked this way, looked that way, walking back and forth. She walks looking at people, saying their illnesses will be cured. It's the same kind of people who say women's illnesses are cured if you grope and stroke them with your hands. What gets cured? By stroking, right? Or not? So when someone talks, you should understand what they're saying. The hearing, plants understand what's said. Plants do, but people don't understand what's said. Plants know everything. They understand everything that's said. Children know who has arrived, but humans don't know. You see, do you know how humans look at each other? Raise your hand if you know. How do humans look at each other? You don't know? You've got a long way to go, haven't you? All of you? You've got a long way to go. Humans always see others as enemies. They don't see them in a good way. What is that guy going to do? Why did that woman come here? Humans always view others as enemies. That's human nature, isn't it? When you hear the word religion, do you know what religion is for? Religion is a useless place. That's what religion is. What does religion do, anyway? You need to eat food to feel full, and drink water when thirsty to feel refreshed. What comes out of staring at something non-existent, hoping for something to come out of it? It's all lies. If shamans are so knowledgeable, why do they live in poverty? Think about it. If shamans are so wise, can predict worldly affairs, and are good at fortune telling, why do they live poorly? That's what I'm saying. They should be living as wealthy people. They could just ask the spirit they serve, the one sitting in their belly, couldn't they? I'm struggling to live, stuck in a small rented room, waving a bamboo flag and making a living through fortune telling. Can't you see this situation? Please tell me the numbers to win first place in the lottery. They could just say that to the spirit. Then the spirit might reply, you're stuck in a small room, struggling to make a living through fortune telling. I even have some shame as a weasel. Does I have some conscience too? So by these numbers such and such numbers then you'll win first place. Wouldn't it say that? But there isn't a single shaman like that in this world. No, people should try to gain some enlightenment while living. How can they live so foolishly? How clearly do I explain things to you? To receive a human body and go to the Yonghua world, you must come here, isn't that right? You must come here, you absolutely must. Who put in the Buddha's enlightened light? There's the person who put it in, right? Then did it enter by itself, naturally, right? The sun too. If it rises in the morning and sets in the evening, you only saw the sunlight today. You can't see it at night. See it at night? You have to see it again tomorrow. The sun, again. Then, if you plant rice plants and they become rice after basking in the sun for just one day, how good would that be? Right? Isn't it? For several months, until their necks are strained and they bend over, they must see the sunlight to become rice. Coming here, receiving commandments of Buddhism once, quickly going, and thinking, I have no worries now, because I'll go to a good place when I die. You must abandon it. Such a mind can't come because you're scared of corona. Hey, if you die, you die. Why worry about catching that thing? Right? Isn't it? If corona is so scary and death is so feared, why eat and live? Just live roughly and die. What's the big deal? Why die? Just because you catch it? Those who die, it's because their body's health is bad to that extent, so they die when things coincide. You don't die from that. Think about it. So, unless you have some special business to attend to, otherwise, you must come to the temple, right? Isn't it? It's Buddha's enlightened light, I tell you. Because I gave commandments of Buddhism with mugwort and put the light in, it entered. The light. But you must come to the temple. Not coming is unacceptable, I tell you. You must come. You must come. And commandments of Buddhism, everyone must receive them from me. Every person. The thought of interdependent arising is the same as a person planting beans. Beans too, a person must plant them for countless beans to come out here and there. If not planted, they cannot come out. How would they come out? Right? So, that's called the thought of interdependent arising, right? Just planting them doesn't make them beans either. Even if planted through interdependent arising, the sunlight must continuously shine on the beans. They must receive Buddha's enlightened light for the bean to fulfill the bean's role. The bean's role, fulfill the role. Beans too ripen to become beans. Try planting them in the shade where the sun doesn't shine. They are beans, but they don't ripen. None. Try it once this year. Is it a lie? There are such principles of the world. Throughout summer until autumn, they must receive the sunlight to become beans. I tell you, looking at you all, there are people who come very periodically. Countless. These people have secured their passage. Now, right? 100% go. 100% they go. I hate trying living this time. I go being a man, just being lazy, unable to earn money, just sitting around always, not like this person, but thinking I should meet someone diligent, cool, earns money well, a good guy, and try living. If you do, you can come right away. Is that so? Isn't it? If I receive Buddha's enlightened light and possess enlightenment, that is precisely Gong thought. Gong is something I can do intentionally as much as I want. Understand? But interdependent arising requires facilitation to happen. It cannot be done alone. That's what I'm saying. Did you understand? Now do you understand? That's why I talked about the seawater, because you don't understand what you hear. It's difficult, and you don't get what I'm saying, so I brought up the sea. Do you understand? Because there is a sea, the fish come and live depending on it, clinging to it. They all depend on the sea to live. Where else would they live? If they leave the water, they die, right? Yes or no? They die, right? It's the same with humans. A body that leaves without Buddha's enlightened light is no different from a fish out of water. Am I right or wrong? I'm right, aren't I? If you can't understand even that, then what should I do? I can't even poke your ears with a garrick. Do you know what a garrick is? You don't, do you? Garrick, see? There's no one old-fashioned left. You're all modern people. You don't know what Garrick means, do you? Weren't you supposed to be older? Garrick refers to, back in the countryside, there was a spinning wheel, a machine for making thread. Spinning wheel, you know that, right? There's even a song about it. Spinning wheel. When you turn the spinning wheel, you're spinning it to make thread tails. You spin the cotton, and it looks like white rice cake sticks, right? That long, just like that. When you go to spin the cotton at the cotton spinning place and bring back the cotton, you make it finger thick like a rice cake stick. Make a bundle about this long. Lay them out in a row, and when you spin the spinning wheel, it has a wire about this long. The tip is sharp, right? You hang that on the spinning wheel's wire, and when you spin it, the wire spins, right? As it spins, you cut straw about this big and attach it to the wire, wind the thread onto it, place the cotton against it, and spin it. When you spin the wheel, the wire turns, and the thread twists out of the cotton like a stream and winds around that bundle of thread that's called Garrick. The wire is Garrick. That wire is Garrick. That's sharp, right? That's why I brought it up. You don't really know what Garrick is. Since it's sharp, I said you'd need to poke your ears with it to understand what you hear. Now you get it? That's why it's called Garrick. Garrick. So when you weave cloth, you use a loom, right? When you weave, what do you use to weave with? Straw? You use these bundles of thread, and now there's a slim, narrow wooden container where you place the thread bundle. That's called a shuttle. You place the thread bundle into the shuttle, hook the thread, and then tap the shuttle with your foot like this. Watch closely. You have to do this for the shuttle to pass through, right? When you do that, the thread's separate, and then you insert the shuttle there with your foot. After inserting it, you hit it with your foot, then the heddle comes and hits, and when you press again with your foot, and it spreads apart, you insert from this side. It goes back and forth. Hitting this is how you weave cloth. Humans have lived that way. Humans, that's how Rami cloth. Cotton, everything is woven, even plain cotton. What's woven with cotton is plain cotton, and what's woven with Rami? You know Rami, right? That's Rami. Then, when you boil and pull out the Rami and weave it again, that's called silk. No, it's muzzy. It's called muzzy. Silk is what you get when silkworms spin threads. That's silk. They all exist. Humans have lived and made a living like that. That's the point. But nowadays, looms, because the world has developed, science has advanced. With development, who nowadays weaves this with their feet? Nowadays, you haven't been to a fabric factory, right? Do you know how fast the looms are when it's mechanical? These looms that make the fabric threads, they're everywhere in Daegu. There are a lot in Gumi too. Wool factories. The metal that makes the loom threads, I'm the one who developed it in Korea. Didn't I say so? That I'm the #1 contributor to our country's industry. People just don't know. That's why. It's not a lie. I may sound like I'm bragging, but I'm a genius. It's not really bragging. Even 40 to 50 years ago, that loom thread, done with that metal, the raw wire material cost 800,000 won per kilogram. The material, per kilogram, I developed it and made it cost 300 won. 300 won. Do you know how sharp-minded I am? The monks don't know me at all. They're just completely empty cans. The monks, that's how much of an awakened person I am. That's not even the issue. You think that's all there is? So if it takes 800,000 won to make one pair of pants, how expensive would those pants be? But if the production cost is set at 300 won, if you take materials worth 800,000 won and reduce it to 300 won, how great is that? Think about it. That's why there are so many wool factories like Chile Wool, Gyeongnam Wool. I'm the top contributor, even if I look like this. You think that's all? Pianos, even stationery that kids use, staplers, suture pins, things like that. Oh dear, if the monks try to compete with me, can they really compete? I'm someone who can see 1,000, 10,000 miles ahead while just sitting. Are you really trying to compete with me? Saying this and that Buddha is inside your chest, the Master is inside, Buddha's enlightened light is inside. Maitreya is inside. These are lunatics. Compete with me? No. Try talking to our head of the Buddhist Association. See what he says. They're all geniuses, compared to people like that. And yet the female Buddhists go and sit there learning from those people, believing them, to such foolish people? Oh dear, right? Or not? Ask me anything. I've said this before, haven't I? I don't deal with anything unless it's 100%. You know staplers, right? Even those things that staple boxes, that's my patented invention too. I'm a doctor of knowledge. I've developed countless things, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of items. I released all of that to the world for free to the world. Now, if monks try to oppose me and act like they know better, what do you think I'd think of that? If someone doesn't know the way and asks for directions, they should be guided to the correct path. But if someone who doesn't know says, go this way, or try going that way, what happens to the person asking for directions? They'll just end up wandering in circles, right? Isn't that so? If you don't know, you should stay quiet. Why pretend to know? Buddhist, that's right. What does attaining Buddhahood mean? What is attaining Buddhahood? Attaining Buddhahood doesn't happen in a stagnant state. If a flower hasn't bloomed, who would call it a flower? It's only when the flower blooms that it can be called Buddhahood, isn't that right? When a person comes into this world, they should at least know something themselves, shouldn't they? If they don't know anything but act like they do, what kind of person is that? And how can they live eating food? If they just sit there criticizing what others say, then if they mislead someone down an unknown path, aren't they leading that person to death? If you don't know, stay quiet. Why lead people to death? Isn't that so? Then listen carefully to what I say and think, this is the right path. When a person comes and dies, this is the path they should take. Listen to that. If you don't know but listen and realize something from it, then say, go down that path. We don't know beyond that point. Since you don't know, tell them to take that path. What kind of monk would that make you then? It's building great merit, right? Isn't it? It's building merit. So, among enlightenment learners, there are many good monks, and also monks who study very diligently. Even at this time, monks, people listening to my sermon are visible. When I look, those people want to come, but really watching this person's reaction, that person's reaction, they can't come. Also, if a monk leaves the temple, there's nowhere to go. Monks, where do they go? They've shaved their heads clean. They've taken off all their clothes and wear strange, whitish things. There's nowhere to go, right? So, whether they live or die, they just sit there. Then as time passes, now their hair is graying. It's time to die. What are they going to do? That's the question. So, still, Buddhists who attend temples have children. So at least they have children. Well, since it's the child I gave birth to, it's good to see them. Cute and precious. When old, still, if the parents are old, if they are sick somewhere, the child brings medicine. And if they want to go somewhere, takes them. There's that kind of pleasure, right? But monks have no children, no wife. When they get old, where do they go? Monks too, when they have strength and speaking ability, they become head monks and do such things, right? When old, they all have to go into the back room, because no one looks at them. That's why there are many married monks among monks. Married monks. A married monk is a person who has a wife. Why are there married monks? Once I went to a temple in Incheon. Went once because I had business, and that monk said this. He said he had lived a life of practice for about 30 to 40 years, but thinking about it now, he regrets it. So why the regret? When I asked, really getting older, aging, you have to cook and eat meals, right? To have that, even a meal offering, the temple needs to be doing somewhat well to have one. Otherwise, a person can't even have a temple cook. Maybe if they cook for free, but you have to give payment for those people to live. Because of that, he regrets it. That's the story. Now, why does he regret it? If he had a wife, still, she would prepare meals, bring water if thirsty, scratch his back if itchy. But since there's no temple cook, really being old, he's now past 60 looking towards 70, he said it was pathetic. and he says he regrets it. He said, "I should have gotten a wife when I was younger and lived. I regret it." Those words also make sense. Why? Even if monks remain celibate and live alone like that, study diligently, and learn the enlightenment, where do they go when they die? When they die, it's futile, it ends. I tell you, when you die, it ends. There is no attaining Buddhahood. Understand? That's why I explained the thought of interdependent arising in detail. The thought of interdependent arising. There must always be a partner in everything. Without a partner, interdependent arising cannot happen. And the dead can't arise interdependently. Only the living can interdependently arise. That's what I explained in detail. Among the monks who heard that, the words reached into the hearts of about 90% of them. 90%. It entered. So the words I said struck them in the heart, and 90% of the monks are now worried. But what I want to say is, don't worry about appearances in front of others, just come to me. That's it. If someone comes and says, "I truly don't have 300,001 for the giving commandments of Buddhism, so I can't receive it," then I will just give it anyway. I'm not doing this to make money. But running a temple needs money too, right? Yes or no? That's why we receive a little bit. If we look at it in terms of money, do you think that's worth only 300,001? Really now, right? Yes or no? But there are so many monks suffering because they have no money. Monks with empty pockets, especially at large temples. If such monks say, "I couldn't receive the commandments of Buddhism because I have no money," I will do it for them just for free. Just because I give it for free doesn't mean it has no effect. It's the same. The effect is the same. I said I would do it. I'm not a Buddha trying to make money. If I were trying to make money, I wouldn't be doing temple work. Does it sound like a lie? I wouldn't be doing this. Didn't I say this earlier? I've put out many patented, good things into the world for the living beings to live with enlightenment, right? That's not the only thing I'm good at. I'm a doctor in healing illnesses. A doctor. I'm telling you, it's true. I'm a doctor when it comes to healing illness. Do you know how well I heal? It's astonishing. Well, I don't do it now. It's incredible. Do you know what the monk said? 10 years ago, back in the day, the monk came to me because he was sick. He was amazed when he saw how I healed him. Really, back then, it was impressive and good to see. But now I see them doing temple rituals, just summoning other people's spirits and doing Chando ceremonies over and over again. Does it look good to you? I'm not trying to feed a family. I don't even have a family. But truly, really, I'm a doctor in healing. A real doctor. I'm not bragging. Really. But really, time is fleeting, right? As I age and grow old too, though my heart burns with desire to help. Really, when I see people, I can see it all clearly. Their pain. I see it as plainly as the palm of my hand. The pain. Because it's visible. You think, if I just touch that once, I'll be healed. That's the kind of thing you see. But even for me, that's hard. Because I'm aging. No matter how much of a Buddha one is, the flesh and bones are a living being. Got it? If someone says the flesh is the Buddha, they're a fraud. Flesh is a living being. So as time passes, even the Buddha's flesh ages and disappears. That's what I'm saying. Then what is the Buddha? The Buddha is enlightenment. And what's inside that enlightenment? Buddha's enlightened light is inside. That's it, the original. That's what makes a Buddha. So for one to be a Buddha, there must be a Ushnisha on the forehead and Ushnisha beads on the crown. That's what I'm saying, right? So if the sunlight doesn't shine, do you still call it the sun? It's nothing, right? But even though they rise in the same sky, both the sun and moon rise. But why is the moon not bright, gloomy? Even would you work until the moon rises at night, right? Or not? Even if both emit light, the moon is of no use to humans. That's why I gave the talking point. But will the monks solve it? If they do, I'll grant great blessings. Was it fun? Did you learn a lot? It's fun, right? If I give you another fun talking point, you'll stay till dawn. You really won't go. But it's truly fun when I speak, right? But if you can't go home like that, it'd be a big problem. So no matter how much I try to spread Maitreya Buddha's teaching, You are already connected with the Buddha, so you must learn it well and pass it on for generations to come, okay? What you've learned, you must also teach to your sons, daughters, to your children. That's how it works. If you die keeping it to yourself, what will happen? Understand? So what is the gong thought? Look, when a young person gives birth, if that person received the commandments of Buddhism and received Buddha's enlightened light before giving birth, that child will also have Buddha's enlightened light in their body. It doesn't disappear. Once it enters, it never disappears. That's why a persimmon tree is always a persimmon tree. Can a persimmon tree become a peach tree, jujube tree, or apple tree? No, it cannot, because people in this world are that blocked in the head. I end up talking a lot. To say a person committed a sin and becomes an animal or beast after death, what is that? It's not some sleight of hand or magic. Yet people believe that? What kind of world is this? The gong thought is not something that transforms or changes into something else, understood? It doesn't change. If it changes, what happens? It won't become gong. So a persimmon tree is forever a persimmon tree, and an apple tree is forever an apple tree. If it becomes a pear tree or a persimmon tree, then it's no longer an apple tree, right? Think about it. Then what do the monks mean by their words? I planted an apple tree, but after picking apples for about 3 years, I got tired of it. So I thought, next year, I wish it would bear pears, and prayed to make it bear pears. That's what they're saying. After picking pears for a few years, I got tired of them too. Then I thought, this time I want peaches, and prayed diligently to make the tree bear peaches. That's what they mean. That's called Jingongmyo, you understood? You need to know something before you speak and live. The chromosome of gong thought that you inherently possess doesn't change. If it changes, it's fake, isn't that right? I can abandon something and leave it behind, but I cannot change it. That's the meaning, understood? What is that? That is precisely gong thought. That's what I'm saying. So the thought I inherently possess, the gong thought, is always unchanging. That's the meaning. If it changes, you won't be able to come next time. If it changes completely, you won't be able to come. Isn't that right? The act of trying to create something non-existent as if it exists is called Jingongmyo. That's what I'm saying, understood? And what do you call such things? Things that change. You call them transients. They're lies and fakes. Now do you understand? You understand now, don't you? So, the gong thought that Maitreya Buddha brought cannot change, cannot deteriorate, and always remaining as it is, that's called gong thought. Therefore, Jingongmyo, which tries to fill what is empty and tries to make what is non-existent seem existent, is not gong. It's fake and nonsense, understand? Now do you clearly understand? You all must clearly realize that. Only then, when you clearly know it in your heart, will you all go there after death. Now, because I have already planted it here, understand? That's right. Needlessly waiting for something non-existent as if it exists, that's just futile effort. I tell you, when you die, it ends. It's the end. Really, the other day too, a young woman named Dong Ju attended here for a long time. Her mother passed away, and when I performed Chendo for her, she saw her mother entering Yonghua world, right? Her mother showed her. Then do you think Yonghua world doesn't exist? It exists. So, Yonghua world is not a place where a separate building is constructed, or a nation is made and set up. Where would they set it up? Where would a dead person set up anything? A dead person. If you receive Yonghua Maitreya Buddha's enlightened light and become Buddha's disciple, the world is seen through Buddha's eyes, understand? That's called Yonghua world. So, if you wear sunglasses and look, how does the world appear? It looks darkish, right? What looks darkish? When I look through a good telescope, a beautiful telescope, the whole world appears brightly, right? That's Buddha. So, attaining Buddhahood, if you go to Yonghua world, the world is seen as something very beautiful. That's called Yonghua world. Also, when a person dies, there are no flesh and bones, right? Because there are no flesh and bones, rice meal is not needed. What is there to eat? Then, the sun that rises every day, Does it rise while living eating a sumptuous feast well, right? Isn't it? Therefore, even living without eating, you live life with the light that never disappears, with light, so you become just like Maitreya Buddha, right? Isn't it? Even if you all cannot enlighten, save living beings like Maitreya Buddha, the way you live is the same as Buddha, that's what I'm saying, as Maitreya Buddha. Did you understand now? You clearly understand, right? You all cannot become Maitreya Buddha. Why? Because you lack enlightenment. Even if you can't become one, if you receive it, when you die after death, you can live exactly like Maitreya Buddha. That's what I'm saying, understand? When Maitreya Buddha dies, where does he go? He goes to Yonghua world. If you go to that Yonghua world, you don't associate with living beings. With living beings, you all, people going to Yonghua world absolutely do not associate with living beings, with wandering living beings. Such miscellaneous spirits, ghosts, they cannot even come. Therefore, all the ghosts living in Yonghua world have their form appearing exactly like this. So, ghosts cannot enter inside there. Ordinary people's dead ghosts. So, our Guangmyung Bodhisattva, our mother's picture, you all saw it, right? That form appears like this. That form. Ordinary people, the dead, cannot enter inside at all. If they do, it's a big problem. They can't go in. That's where you all always exist, that's called the Yonghua world. Where on earth is there a photograph of the Yonghua world taken on earth? There's only one at Yonghua temple, on this earth. The land of happiness doesn't exist. So it's not just talk about the Yonghua world, there's even a video recording of it. You've all seen it. You saw it, right? Knowing that his own son is the Buddha, knowing that his son is the Buddha. When leaving the world, shouldn't he show this to the living beings? Why? If the living beings don't believe the Buddha has come, what will happen? You'll be frustrated to death. What can you do? That's why, to show that the Maitreya Buddha has come to the Sabha world, he showed to our monk his departure from the Yonghua world. Take the photo, he said. Got it? So a pillar of fire came down from the sky, and the video was fully recorded. You must know the meaning, understand? So on this earth, only our Yonghua temple has a video of the Yonghua world, only our temple. Everything else is fake and useless, got it? So it's not just talk. There are all those materials and evidence, which is why we call him the Buddha. Would anyone lie and call someone a Buddha saying something exists when it doesn't? Because monks don't really know. They say, Maitreya is seated inside me. That the Buddha is seated in the chest, the protagonist is seated there. That Buddha's enlightened light is seated in the chest too, and so on. And what do some monks say? Oh dear, Kashitagarbha is also Maitreya. Guanyin Bodhisattva is also Maitreya. There are monks like that. And such people even teach children at Gongwan. Then what do the students learn? That's how messed up the standard is. It's a chili powder household. Got it? Does it make sense to attend such a place? You understand now? So they say if you sit and chant Guanyin Bodhisattva, good things will happen. But what does Guanyin Bodhisattva even do? Her ears hurt so much. Tired of hearing it, tormented for thousands of years. She asked me to perform the Chendo ceremony, so I did it for her. Now, even if you call Guanyin Bodhisattva 100 times, it's all useless. She's no longer here, because I sent her off. She's not here now. I saw today she didn't come. I don't see her. She's not here. She used to come all the time, but now I don't see her. So she's not here. And what did I say if a Buddha doesn't attain Buddhahood? A ghost. A ghost is a living being. That means every person becomes a ghost after death. That's what I'm saying. So in short, you've all succeeded. You've made it. If a person dies and avoids becoming a ghost, isn't that a success? What do you think? It's not a lottery. Come on, that day when I spoke about the returned Jesus Christ, you all sat there blank. So, have you reflected now? Why do you think I said that? Even though they are both religions, there's Christianity and Buddhism, right? Christianity hasn't been in our country for long. Buddhism has been here much longer. So when you look at how people of that religion behave, It's so disgraceful. That's why I said it. Oh come on, they say you shouldn't even step on your teacher's shadow. A disciple should never step on their teacher's shadow because the teacher is precious. It's the disciple's duty not to step on the teacher's shadow. Yet they curse the Maitreya Buddha when he has come. Monks with shaved heads hurl vulgar curses like this woman. That woman at the same enlightenment learner, the Bhikkhuni nun. What kind of religion is that? No matter how much I think about it, I can't understand. They curse terribly, huh? Those monks shaved their heads to make money, not to enlighten living beings, right? I know a lot of monks. I know thousands of them. I really do. But when I actually deal with them, oh dear, they're at such a low level. When you talk to people who live in society, work in offices, run businesses, and compare them with monks, the monks are at such a different level from those who live in society that they can't even keep up. They're just too low level, got it? If I weren't running a temple and just resting, and someone said they were going to another temple with people like that, I'd stop them. Why go to such low level places? I'm saying the monks are just too low in standard. If such a religion spreads, there's no hope, that's what I'm saying. Going forward, if Shakyamuni created Buddhism and spread a religion on this earth, then to continue that legacy, great disciples must emerge and spread Buddhism, don't you think? But why are the monks so low in level? That's the question. Those who are a bit more decent don't speak, they just sit there with their mouths closed. But those mediocre monks, they've tasted money and like it. When female Buddhists come and call them monk, head monk, they get excited. Even without wings, they act like they can fly, flapping around. It's such a pitiful sight. Good grief, you people, how do you expect the female Buddhists to respect you? You can see it, right? If you want respect from others, you have to behave that way. Do you think shaving your head makes you worthy of respect? Isn't that right? So, from my perspective, many things are quite wrong, that's what I'm saying. There are several disappointing points I've observed. Why are they disappointing? It's because people speak ill and use bad language. Why would an enlightenment learner use profanity? Then that person isn't an enlightenment learner. That's the kind of behavior gangsters engage in. How can that be the conduct of an enlightenment learner? Why use profanity? If a monk in a temple shaves their head but uses profanity and acts like a gangster, how can they be called a monk? Think about it, they shouldn't be using profanity. If someone has something to say, they should express it properly and use good words. Then I'll provide a response to that. When children watch broadcasts, those little kids around 7 or 8 years old, some people dislike the kids singing and give them thumbs down gestures. Why do they do that? From my perspective, they're so pretty and adorable, it's delightful to see them. Even if they don't know how to sing well or can't sing properly, what does it matter? Isn't that right? Children are inherently adorable. If it were your own child singing like that, would you give them a thumbs down gesture? If Maitreya Buddha has come and spoken, shouldn't you listen carefully and agree with what is right? If something is wrong, or if I've made a mistake and you say, I listened to this but don't understand, it seems strange, then I'll explain it to you. I'll clarify by saying it doesn't mean that, it means this, and the answer will come out. But if you oppose everything unconditionally, that's just disgraceful behavior. People who have attended Yonghwasa temple for a long time don't go to other temples. Even if they have business there, they absolutely don't go because they might get possessed by spirits. Getting possessed by spirits isn't an ordinary hardship, do you understand? Do you know how difficult it is once you're possessed by a spirit? Even spirits have their own kinds. There are spirits who committed evil deeds while alive, hated others, and used profanity. Such bad spirits exist. Do you know what we call such dead spirits? They're called evil spirits. Evil spirits. What great meaning is there in a person being outstanding or inferior? When you die, you all become ghosts. Even just in our country, how many shamans are there? You can't even count them. You can't even count those who officially receive spirits and operate. Do you know how many people have divine energy but haven't received a spirit and are possessed by ghosts? You can't even count them. Then where did all those ghosts come from? Did dead wolves or dogs enter human bodies? They are all dead human ghosts that entered. knowing that humans all become ghosts when they die to that extent. Why do you believe otherwise? That's what I'm saying. You yourself will become a ghost when you die. Think about it. If you can't realize that, this is a big problem. That's what I'm saying. Why did Maitreya Buddha come to the Sabha world? That's the question. Maitreya Buddha is the one who comes to resolve that. I tell you, Maitreya Buddha is the person who comes to resolve it so that humans don't become ghosts after living and dying. But why do you curse such a precious Maitreya Buddha and tell him to die quickly? Then doesn't that mean you yourselves will just live, die, and become ghosts? Then why strive so hard to live if you're just going to die and become a ghost? Just die anytime. And why try to earn money? Just live roughly and die. Attaining Buddhahood, the dead cannot do it. You must be alive to attain Buddhahood. So what did I say? I told you all to achieve living Buddhahood, didn't I? Achieve living Buddhahood. Understand? So, because you don't understand what I'm saying. Beans too must be planted to sprout. If not planted, the bean disappears. I said that, right? In the world, such plants cannot converse with humans, even if spoken to. They can't understand words, can't converse, right? Such plants. Even such plants recognize Buddha. Why is that? That person who looks like that, because there is Buddha's enlightened light in their body. If we receive that Buddha's enlightened light, all the plants we have like cucumbers, watermelons, pumpkins, these plants all undergo change. So they come to resemble Buddha, I tell you, So the weight of a cucumber, a normal cucumber, if it weighs about 300 grams, a cucumber I handle doesn't even weigh 100 grams. Try looking once in the summer, is it a lie? Why is that? Even such plants, karma falls away from their body when they receive Buddha's enlightened light. Then, even such plants change, so why don't humans change? That's what I'm saying. What kind of mind, disposition is inside the chest? Even if I say these heartbreaking, bone-aching words, if you can't understand what I'm saying, why eat rice and live? Isn't that right? Then are humans worse than even cucumbers or eggplants? What's the point of wearing an official hat and sitting there, believing in a Buddha statue carved from wood, painted with paint, and set up? A body that will become a ghost and disappear upon death. You must wake up, understand? This life is the last for all humans on earth. This life is the last. It ends in one life. So when this person comes, lives one life and dies, that life ends, and they disappear as a ghost. That is why the one who comes to resolve that is the Maitreya Buddha. That's what I'm saying. How precious is that? Isn't it precious? Did I ever say to bring money? Did I say to bring rice? Did I say to bring clothes? Right or not? Just by coming, one receives blessings, but if one doesn't do even that, truly such a person doesn't deserve to eat and live. Even animals, if trained, understand speech and recognize their master. Many of you raise dogs at home. If you raise them well, they're just like humans. Even those animals recognize people, and no matter how much of a pet it is, it's still an animal, not a human. Even those animals understand words when trained. Then why can't humans understand human speech? That's a big problem, isn't it? That's why wars happen like that, and people are killed. There's a war now, right? Russia, what's the need for war? How precious and valuable is human life? Killing people doesn't make sense, does it? It's to steal what belongs to others. Why else would you go to war? With COVID having come, people are dying, the world is noisy, it's a chaotic world. In such a world, we shouldn't go to war too, right? There's nothing as precious as a human. No matter how much you try, you can't create a person, right? That precious being. Where in the world is there a way to revive the dead? When you die, it's the end. But because there is a path for the dead to be reborn in this world, the one who comes to make that happen in the world is the Maitreya Buddha. Truly, sometimes I even tell our monk or the head of the faithful, I don't feel like doing the temple work. I don't want to do it. Even when I speak, people can't understand what I'm saying. It's like their ears are plastered over with cement. They don't understand a word. Can we spread the Dharma like this? That's what I said. Then these people, during that time, really struggled coming to the temple. They put everything down and did it with every last ounce of energy. Even if they receive only what they've given, when they die, they will immediately attain Buddhahood, attaining Buddhahood. Even so, I want to give them more, that's why I keep working hard. Let's give blessings to even more people. Let's guide countless more people, that's the intention. Even just based on what they've already done so far, it overflows. Just that alone is enough. They've cultivated that much. But when a person speaks, you should be able to understand. But they don't understand words. What's the point of sitting at home, right? Everyone has their time. Looking around, many of you haven't missed your time and come regularly. If you miss the timing, it's a big deal. Even flowers have their timing, right? In this spring, flowers bloom, fruits ripen, and everything begins in spring. Do flowers bloom or trees begin when snow and rain fall in winter? Flowers don't bloom in winter, everything has its time. Why don't flowers bloom in winter? Because it's cold. Do you know what that means when interpreted through Buddhism? Flowers don't bloom because it's cold, so enlightenment can't be explained with just one thing. There are countless tens of thousands of realizations contained in enlightenment. What I asked was, it's not just that flowers bloom in winter because it's cold, right? All things in the world have yin and yang, right? There is yin and yang. In summer, it becomes yang, and in winter, it becomes yin, right? Then what does yin mean? Even in the same world, yin and yang change with the seasons. Got it? So when winter passes and spring comes, the weather becomes warm. So once winter is gone and warm spring comes, it changes to yang. Understood? Because it changes to yang, flowers bloom in summer. Why? Because it receives Buddha's enlightened light. Because it receives warm light. Does sunlight feel warm in winter? Even if sunlight comes in winter, it doesn't feel warm. Because it has shifted into yin. So the world has yin and yang. Even for women to conceive, those with cold bodies struggle, it must be warm. Got it? It's the same, it's the law of the world. Then why don't we plant millet and beans in winter too? It doesn't work in winter. The world has its principles. That's why there is yin and yang contain both yin and yang. The law of all things in the universe, the Gong thought. The teachings of 용화미륵부처님 Buddha, the founder of the Gong thought. An enlightened Buddha emits light from his body and saves living beings with Buddha's enlightened light. The light of the sun that creates all things is Buddha's enlightened light. And only the Buddha's enlightened light of an enlightened Buddha can make humans reincarnate. The Buddha's enlightened light of the living Buddha. That is precisely the Gong thought. Receiving Shugi means embracing Buddha's enlightened light, that is, the Gong thought, within my body. After death, there is no samsara, only everything becomes extinct. If you receive Shugi with the Buddha's enlightened light of an enlightened Buddha, you will have eyes that can see the Yonghua world even after death. Chendo and Shugi are only possible through the Buddha's enlightened light of an enlightened Buddha. Don't receive Chendo after death. Receive Shugi while you are alive. Believe and follow only what you can see, hear, and confirm. The dead cannot arise interdependently, only the living can arise interdependently. Just as gold cannot be made artificially, a Buddha comes as a Buddha from the beginning. and a living being cannot become a Buddha through prayer or Zen meditation. However, those who have received Shugi can receive Buddha's enlightened light and become living Buddhas. All these Gong thought were created by 용화미륵부처님 Buddha. Like the sky and the earth, the sea and the mountains, the source of life and creation, the limitless and eternal truth, the Gong thought. See, hear, and meet 용화미륵부처님 Buddha's Gong thought directly every Sunday at Yonghwasa Temple in Surazan Mountain, Anyang.